I wasn't always a man who believed in doing things proper. Half of a Maximus glute was a tactical noose to my lavish pursuits. Young man misguided, a rider for any overnight medium for appeasing the fun of the others, expedient tripping. Steady tipping my own sharpness, a witness of slack.
It's your favorite trap rapper, Professor Toon. I'm sitting here with Doug Speight from American Underground, Cathedral Leasing, and the EIR at American Underground. What's up, man?
What's good, man? How are you?
Repping the code 2040 on your shirt.
Absolutely, always.
I see you. Tell us a little bit about who is Doug Speight first, man.
Yeah, so I'm a Durham native, born and bred, right? Grew up here, went to Jordan High School, A&T undergrad, Carolina grad school. Go Hills. So I'm Durham through and through, man. My family's been in this area since the turn of the century. My family has been in business here since 1938. Continuously with a number of different businesses. So I am dyed in the wool, Durham, Bull City, the whole way.
Bet, man. Tell us a little bit about Cathedral Leasing, though.
Yeah, so Cathedral is a B2B fintech company that provides financing for larger companies to obtain the equipment that they need in order to succeed. So think about construction equipment, agriculture, fleet vehicles.
And y'all the plug.
Absolutely.
Bet. Okay, man. So it's March 2016. Opportunities start coming down the line. It was all a dream. Biggie thing playing in the background. Let us know, how'd you even hear about the process for EIR?
So I stayed close to American Underground. I was living in Tennessee at the time. We were moving back to North Carolina. And I had stayed close to American Underground, Adam Klein, Jessica Averhart. And so I knew that they were starting the Code 2040 program last year in 2015. So I stayed close to that, and when it came time for them to open up applications for a new EIR, I was all over it because it's something that is really close to my heart, right? Something that I really believe in about helping the next generation of entrepreneurs, especially Black and brown entrepreneurs, to get off and do their thing. So I was all over it, and that was a dream come true to be selected as entrepreneur in residence. I had thought about this a long time.
True. So what's it like working with Code 2040, man?
Oh, it's great. It's great. So Code 2040 is structured in two different areas. So one, they have this entrepreneur in residence program where there's 7 of us around the country, and we all work to develop programs and events and series in our city to help Black and brown entrepreneurs survive and thrive and expand. But they also have this technology fellows program where they have internships for mostly college students, mostly computer science, but it's pretty broad. But they have this fellowship program that offers internships at the Bay Area's finest companies like Google and Facebook and Apple and the like. Last year they took out 90 interns, and all Black and brown, all Black and Latino interns, and had them at companies all over the Bay Area. So that's sort of the organization. It's absolutely wonderful to work for too. Great place to see Black and brown excellence at its best. So that's how we do it.
All right, man. So we got through those questions, man, but I don't want it to be like a normal interview. I don't want this information to be the same old information that everybody's getting, man.
You don't do anything normal, do you?
Nah, man, I can't. So we're gonna chill, we're gonna relax a little bit and feel like you're talking to your bro. Cause I wanna know, like, what's some of the apprehensions you had going in? Like, nobody's gonna talk about what scared them. What worried you? What were you apprehensive about, like, when you really started to dive in and before the process, during the process?
So that's a really good question because the EIR has 2 main responsibilities over the course of the year. One is to develop, those programs and events and those sorts of things for the community, but they also have to build their company at the same time. One of the things that I was really apprehensive about was being able to manage my time across both of those, because I know how important the entrepreneurial community in Durham is to me. So I knew I'd get carried away with that.
I'm super ADD.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nah.
And so, and of course, it wound up being a struggle being able to balance the two of those, right?
Okay.
Because I've got a company that's right at seed stage level, where we're going out for capital, and you need to be all in during that time. And so,
Explain seed stage to some people.
yeah. So seed stage is like the first stage of a company where you have a product, or at least the beginnings of a product. You have an audience or a customer base that's interested in your product, and you're making sure that you have product market fit, right? So you're not selling $1 million worth of goods and services
Are you selling
yet.
yet?
Yes.
You are selling.
Yeah. But we were a year ago. We didn't have any revenue. We were pre-revenue, so we were just starting out as a young team.
Okay.
I was the only full-time person when I came on. So carrying a heavy load during that time, and then trying to get funded so that we could continue to grow the company.
Okay.
So that's what seed stage is. And then, of course, if you grow past that area, you look for expansion capital. Like in a Series A, you look for a larger, probably $2 to $5 million worth of investment, so that you can grow your staff, grow your marketing efforts, all that sort of thing, and then expand from there. So we're really very much on the front end, still very much a startup, and so we knew that balance was going to be a little bit difficult.
Bet, man.
Yeah.
So if you can give me one emotion now that you're on the other side of that, now that you're exiting, you got it all. It's one of these modes, like. So what's the emotion now? Like what are you feeling now that you're on the other side?
You know what? It's complicated,
Okay.
right? It's complicated because on the one hand, I love this stuff so much because I love to meet people like you and meet folks like Taryn Henry and Philippe Charles, and work with folks at American Underground like Adam Klein and the whole team there. So I love that part of it, and I'm a builder, so I love building new programs and events that sort of take people out of their normal stage, break out of their confines and expose them to new things. So I knew I'd get carried away with that, and I still feel like I want to continue that, but at the same time, I know I have to grow my company, right? It's really critical, especially right now, for us to close this capital raise and then go on and continue building. So it's kind of complicated, man. On the one hand, I'm glad to have that official role off my books, but at the same time, I miss it.
Something like that, you never really leave it, because people look to you as a mentor. People still come to you for advice. I'm sure the new EIR will come to you for little tidbits here and there. So you kind of still have an unsaid responsibility to keep that going, even though you're out of the official role. Yeah,
and at the same time too, it energizes me, right? So it's not all given out. I get as much as I give, right? So being able to engage with people with new ideas, with different markets that they're trying to access, and different tactics that they're trying to use, I actually learn a lot from all of that. So it's good for me too, because I get energized, I get new ideas, and it's just as good for me as it is for everybody else. So.
Bet. All right, man. So it's freshman year in college, and you've been through tryouts. You made the team. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're 6'5". You shouldn't have any problem scoring on anybody. You're 6'5". You got a 40-inch vertical. This is the stuff people have been telling you for years. And then conference finals comes, and opposing power forward has the meanest elbow in the conference. That's the one thing they forgot to tell you. That's what they forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
And every time you drive on him, he gonna hit you with the elbow. Every time you drive. And now you don't want to drive the hole anymore, and that's your thing.
Yeah.
You started playing because everybody said you're 6'5" and you can drive, you can jump over everybody, except dude with this really hard elbow. What didn't they tell you? What didn't they prepare you for, man? Like, give us a little bit about that. Like, what happened during this phase, during the year with EIR and growing the business and managing your time, balancing all that out? What's the one thing they forgot to tell you that you was like, y'all forgot to tell me that part?
So one is the visibility, right? So this program is really growing into something significant nationwide. There are a lot of areas that are struggling with diversity and inclusion and how to really connect with Black and brown entrepreneurs. So one thing that I wasn't as prepared for was the national visibility that's on Durham right now. And everyone around the country is taking an interest in what we're doing here. And so that comes with it, with that comes some responsibility, comes additional sort of accessibility that you have to have to media, to everybody else in the community to try and continue the momentum that we built, right? So that was one thing that I didn't expect. On the business side, it's exactly like you just described with the elbows, right? This stuff is hard, man.
Yeah.
This stuff is hard. This is my 4th time with a startup.
Okay.
And every single time is something different. It's completely something different. You can't, just because you're a serial entrepreneur doesn't mean that you have all the answers. In fact, it means you don't have all the answers. So that's the deal. I mean, it's just being able to adjust, being able to fail and not take it too hard and learn something and go back and sort of retread your steps.
How hard is that? Because
it's really hard.
It's like everything that you're growing from the ground up, so it's like your baby.
Yep.
So you're kind of saying, I want you to love this and care about this, but I really don't want you to give to whatever's about it at the same time.
Right.
You're emotionally connected, but it has to be like a disconnect at the same time.
Absolutely has to be. Has to
crazy,
be.
man.
And the way that you do that is you focus in on learning, right? And if you focus in on what you learned during the course of this process, then you don't become too wed to your idea that you just get stuck in it and you get rigid with it.
So stick to the lessons,
absolutely.
Not the idea.
That's
the lessons
exactly
are the
right.
baby.
And you never know what the market's going to tell you, right? So the market may tell me, I'm on like my 3rd pivot. The pivot being we changed our strategic plan in a way that adjusted to the market.
Okay.
So you have to be able to pivot whenever the market tells you something like, hey, we want this instead of that. You thought we needed this function or feature, but instead we need this over here. So you have to be adaptive to that like all the time.
Bet. So with Code 2040, with EIR, traveling around a lot, how many hubs have an EIR right now?
8 now going into 2017.
There are 8, so I'm sure you do a lot of networking.
Absolutely.
And no matter what I hear about business, networking is always one of the main things that's pushed. It's like you gotta get out there, you gotta network, you gotta shake hands, you gotta smack babies, you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure your name is out there and that you're getting information coming in. How important is it for a young entrepreneur to network, and what's some of the keys that you've learned over this year, being around the other EIRs? I'm sure you picked up some other stuff. Like, give us some things that you picked up.
So networking is like critical to everything, right? Nothing happens in business without networking.
So you can't just sit in your office on your computer.
Absolutely not, or you will absolutely fail, right? That's the only sure thing. So the important thing about networking is that business is people, right? At the end of the day, business is all about people and you being able to solve someone else's problem. So if you can't network, you really can't get to how you can solve their problem, right? The second thing is your network. You mentioned your net worth is your network. Absolutely. So you constantly seek out people that you can learn from. And I'm glad to have a group of people here. My network in Durham is absolutely phenomenal. I learn from them all the time. I've developed this national network as well of investors and advisors and colleagues. I learned more over the course of the last year from my fellow EIRs than from many of the subject matter experts from Google and from Facebook and from Apple who came to talk to us. Just in terms of sharing things with them, what I'm going through, different difficulties I'm having, if I'm getting down, if I'm getting depressed about something, because all of that happens, all of that up and down happens during the course of the year. They help you through all of that. So the network is absolutely phenomenal, and I got the best benefit out of all of those EIRs.
Nice, man. I heard you say that you got depressed down. You went through a bunch of emotions.
Oh yeah.
We touched on not necessarily being super duper connected to certain things in business, and the balance between being connected and disconnected. How important is it to understand that flow of emotions? Can you see a certain emotion coming? Like, do you know something's about to happen and you know it's going to have you down on yourself when you see something not going exactly like you planned it?
That's a good question, because this is a roller coaster ride. Even in the best scenarios, this is a roller coaster ride, right? And you can't really predict where those hills and valleys are going to come. So sometimes you can see certain things lining up, certain factors that are combining, and you can see that there's something on the horizon, either bad or good. But that comes with just trial and error, right? Just going through it. The other part is what you do when that happens, right? And how you're able to connect with your community around you, which is why this work is so important, right? Especially for Black and brown entrepreneurs, because it can be really isolating, really lonely out there, because there aren't a whole lot of us, right? So we really need to connect with each other. We really need to connect with hubs and other entrepreneurs that don't have the same background that we do, so that we can learn and we can share experiences, and they grow as we grow.
I'm gonna come back to that. I feel like a lot of people see, mostly, especially in the media, everything that's covered is the shine. It's the necklaces, the glitz, the glamour, the glitter, the events, how much fun you're having, but nobody gets that behind the scenes look. And basically, I want to stress to younger entrepreneurs that they can expect that emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely.
Like right at the end, you were talking about the connections and how important they were, and how valuable connecting with the other EIRs were to you. But as well as that, you talked about connecting with people from different backgrounds. I kind of got doused into the startup scene myself, and I'm a rapper. You know what I'm saying? And people around certain areas realize the value of having entrepreneurs and people in the startup ecosystem, different types of creatives, different types of number crunchers. Everybody can't pitch.
Absolutely.
You need somebody who's comfortable in front of people. You know, you gotta, diversity is not just brown, black, white,
Very
color,
true.
all the colors. Diversity is also background, trade, training, education. All of us do different things, and we bring different strengths.
Very true.
Let's talk about that for a second, man. Like, what kind of things have you seen? It's probably different East Coast than it is West Coast. You know?
Very. Yeah. So that's a really good question. So it's so important for you to connect with people that have absolutely nothing to do with your business. And the reason for that is because you can take lessons that learned or tactics that they used in a completely separate business and just blow yours out of the water because nobody even thought of it. Right? So being able to take something from entertainment and apply it to financial technology or consumer products or something like that, it gives you a whole different edge when you can learn from something completely unrelated and apply it to what you're doing. So that's part of the reason why you engage people that just aren't like you and don't have a background for you. The other thing is that you really need to get a wider perspective. One of the things that's really important for Black and brown entrepreneurs is just exposure, right? Understanding the breadth of what's out there. And that's really hard. It's a big world out there, especially a big business world. So being able to understand what's going on in different sectors, what's going on in different industries, and how you can benefit and how you can position yourself for that is really important. And that's where you're going to get it, is from folks that just aren't necessarily in your circle.
Yeah, man. We're nearing the end, man. Like, for real, I really thank you. I really thank you for coming out. We should keep that. But real talk, man. Let's talk about how important it is for people not to be intimidated by this world, man. Like, the resources are there, and that's one of the reasons we got you here today, to stress that there's resources, there's things out there for you to come into the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
People can come and be self-employed, and it might not look like you think it looks. But it looks good, and it feels good at the end of the day, man. And I'm sure, like, when you go home and lay down and pop on the playoffs and just relax, you feel good and take that breath at the end of the day, like, I did this, but I did this for myself, of course for your family and whoever you're doing it for, but you did it. It's the complete spirit of entrepreneurship, man. Absolutely.
Entrepreneurship is all about building something from nothing, right? From just an idea, and then being able to see it grow and add and expand. And also the sort of self-confidence that you gain from going through that process and failing and starting over and all of that up and down really gives you a sense of who you are, right? Because you don't know until you go through this crucible, this roller coaster, right? So So that's really important, but at the end of the day, it's about self-empowerment, just like you just said, right?
Yeah.
Being able to chart your own future, your own direction, not necessarily having to fit into a box in some corporate scenario or somebody else's job, right?
Yeah.
Everything that comes from being able to create something from nothing. So it's really important that Black and brown entrepreneurs especially don't get intimidated by what they see, the amounts of money that they see being raised by some companies,
Right.
and going public and all that kind of stuff. Well, people tend to get a little bit intimidated when they and start to think, well, I can't do that. I haven't been trained to do that. Well, the thing is, anybody can do this.
Anybody can.
And with the right resources, with the right team, with the right people around you, the right advisors,
Right.
Getting people who really have your best interest in mind and giving you solid advice. I mean, all of that stuff is here in this
Mentors,
community.
too.
That's exactly
Gotta
right.
put that mentor in there. I know
Absolutely.
It's super important.
And it's not all about raising money. If anything, build a company where you don't need to raise money, and simply build it from the ground up, from revenue, from selling products and services that people need, right? That's the type of stuff that you learn going through this process, man.
Yeah.
And that's why we put all of these resources together so that the community can join in this. This isn't just for people who've been trained coming out of business school or whatever. This is for people just like you and me, regular people, who can come up with a great idea that can solve a problem that somebody can pay for. That's all it's about at the end of the day.
Bet, man. Doug, thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, man. My pleasure,
Thank
bro.
you. Thank you. Shout out to the Durham Bulls for letting us break into the ballpark.
Absolutely.
We lit. Shout out to American Underground, Code 2040, Cathedral Leasing. I'm your favorite trap rapper, Professor Toon. This is Doug Speight. This is The Dugout.
And behind the velvet ropes with a cloak while you claim to be the Escobar who's considered dope. No, I'd rather be whacked than caught stealing other silhouettes. Keeping check and still death the ego on these internets. Cause my pride has been a threat. So target practice is active till I'm at your mattress in action when he was crafting. Yeah.